Hey, how's it going? How the hell's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying cool. At least here in my neck of the woods, as they say. Here in Ohio, it was almost 90 degrees, I think, today. So it was a bit warm. Humidity wasn't very high though, so that makes a big difference. But it was still hot. You still worked up a sweat if you were outside working in it. Make sure you wear sunscreen. I made a mistake this past week of not doing that. I was actually technically I was on vacation for 2 days because I took Thursday and Friday off, which I normally work, and then I'm normally off Saturday and Sunday. So 4 days off. Went to the Sonic Temple Music Festival at the historic Crew Stadium in Columbus, Ohio. Of course, Thursday I went and didn't take my sunscreen. Big mistake. The headliner was Tool and Godsmack. Godsmack was amazing. And then Tool came out, and honestly, by that time, I've seen Tool a couple times. I've always been impressed with them. But I was starting to feel from, being in the sun all day with no sunscreen. So I was starting to feel a little bit of tinging, if you will, tingling, however you want to say, on my forehead, my nose, my arms. And, it takes a lot out of you at my age, being out in the sun, rocking out the music all day. So I listened to the first song of Tool, and then I decided to go ahead and head out. From what I've heard, I heard some mixed thing, but the general consensus I've seen from people online and stuff that were there, I kind of get the impression I didn't miss a whole lot as far as Tool. A lot of people weren't real pleased with their set, and not so much because they weren't performing well or anything like that, not at all. It's Tool. But from what I understand, at least from the comments I read, is they played mainly just their newer stuff. They didn't play really anything, from their early days. So, I would rather hear some of their early stuff. But anyhow, I made it home fine. Was tired. Had something to eat. Watched a little TV and then went to bed so I could get up and go Friday. Had a better time Friday. I took sunscreen. And I saw a Bandmade. I was really happy to see them finally. Just phenomenal. All of them. They're just phenomenal musicians. The vocalist has got an incredible voice. They're all fairly nice looking too, so that's a bonus. If you don't know who Bandmade is, by all means look them up. It's an all-female Japanese kind of hard rock. I don't know what. Some of their songs are definitely metal, but some of their songs are lean more towards just like the hard rock. So they're kind of like in between. But yeah, they're incredible to watch. And then Avenged Sevenfold was the headliner, and it was incredible to see them. I tried to go see them once in the past, and I believe the concert got canceled, if I'm remembering right. Because I believe it was one, I forget who they were with, but my daughter was going to go with me. I was going mainly to see Avenged Sevenfold, and she was going to see the opener, but the show got canceled. I want to say it was back in maybe 2021. It wasn't too long ago. And then Saturday, I went, and my daughter went with me. So that's a blast. We got introduced to a couple of bands that I hadn't heard of. One was called Capitol. I think it was Capitol Theater. Capitol something. I can't remember their full name right offhand. But she was real impressed with them. And then The Violent, which I've heard the name, but I've never actually heard the band. And they were really impressive. And then the headliners for Saturday night were Rob Zombie. And I have to admit, I love Rob Zombie. I've been a fan of Zombie since the days of White Zombie, when the first album came out. always been impressed, especially with his theatrics and his stage production, and just how they sound live. But I have to admit, I don't know whether it happens to all of us. You know, we get older. Can't help it. I don't know whether it's because he's getting older, or maybe he was just having an off night, or what. But he didn't vocally. He didn't sound on point. I think there was sometimes where it seemed like almost sounded kind of a mumble, like he was almost out of breath. Which, I mean, it can be understandable. I mean, you know, musicians, they're not, you know, even though we can look at them as like rock gods and idols like that, you know, they're not. They suffer from the same, you know, ailments as anybody else. So, you know, maybe he was just, you know, having an off night. But the overall performance was still very enjoyable. And then we had Kiss. And I see a lot of comments. People were claiming, you know, that they were lip syncing. I didn't see it. I mean, even on the big screen, they were saying, well, it didn't match up. But I know there can be times, especially when you're broadcasting to big screens like that, and you're having like different feeds on the different screens or so forth. You know, you can get a little bit of a lag. You know, I've noticed that with other, I mean, I've noticed that with even much younger bands that do that. That sometimes, you know, the vocals seem off by just a second compared to what you're seeing on the screen. So I don't know whether maybe that's what was it. I loved it. You know, I've seen Kiss a number of times. I know a lot of people are, you know, people either love them or you hate them. I always really liked them. But, of course, all the pyrotechnics and all the lights and everything, you know, they always do an incredible stage production, too, with their, you know, musically, they sounded incredible, and you could tell seeing that it wasn't like a backtrack or anything like that. They were actually playing. And I personally, I think vocally, I think they were singing, too. Just because I don't know how they could lip sync some of the nuances that aren't like part of like their actual recording. Like if you listen to a record, you know, they were saying and doing certain things and certain inflections and during the singing that you wouldn't hear if you were playing like the CD or just like a recorded, you know, performance that was meant to be for a recording. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I had a blast. Of course, after 3 days of being out in the sun and spending quite a bit of money, you know, food, you know, drink, you know, mainly soda and water, Powerade or Gatorade, one of the two, I decided to not go on Sunday. Which really the only band I was really looking forward to seeing on Sunday was the Foo Fighters. But I'm assuming they just got a new drummer. I can't remember. I want to say his name's Scott something, but I can't remember for sure. I'm sure they'll be touring probably later in the year. So, you know, I'll make a, you know, I'll sure get a chance to see him again. But so Sunday I just stayed home, did a little bit of work around the house, and basically relaxed and kind of recover from the other 3 days. I'll open a minute. I love metal. You know, I like rock concerts. I love live music and everything. But I'm getting too old to pull the all day festival type things, especially multiple day ones. So. But depending what their lineup is next year, I might do it again. You know, I mean, you can't beat it. I paid because I got them right when tickets went on sale. I got my 4-day weekend general admission stadium pass. It was only $250 or something like that. There was like 70 bands. I mean, it works out to like $4 or $5 per band. So, I mean, even if there was only one day, say next year when I do it, that I really, really wanted to go, I'd probably get the 4-day thing anyhow. That way, if I wanted to go the other days, I'd have it. Make sense? All right. Enough rambling about that. But I thought I'd share that. with the group. So if you're wondering why I'm a little red, that's mainly why. Of course, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't help that the last 2 days. Well, really the last 3 days. But on Monday I wasn't outside as much, but the last 2 days especially, I've been outside in the sun too, working. So. What are we here to do? If you saw it from the title, new Horrorpack Bluray. This is a monthly subscription. They have 2 different versions. They have the Blu-ray version, which is what I get. It is I believe it's $29.99 with free shipping. And then the DVD version is $24.99 with free shipping. I'll have to double check those. I'm pretty sure that's what they are. Price-wise. But yeah, you get 4 Blu-rays or 4 DVDs, depending on which one you subscribe to. Technically, if you wanted to, you subscribe to both of them because they don't do the same movies on Blu-ray as they do DVD. So you could get both subscriptions, and then you get 8 movies each month. Each month, one of them is a limited edition. That can mean one of several things. It can be a big release, but has something special about it in a horror pack. Maybe like a slipcover or an extra bonus feature, something like that. Or it could be like an independent production that's produced or at least released exclusively through Horrorpack. Once in a while, the limited editions are actually signed by the director, producer, cast member, something like that. They don't do that very often, but every once in a while they do. See what we got. The first one we have is Annabelle Creation. So if I'm right, this is supposed to be like the first one, right? In like the whole series of like The Nun and the Annabelle and what's the other series that goes in with that? They're all kind of loosely connected. But yeah, Annabelle Creation. Okay, have not seen that one. I don't own that one. I need to get like all the movies that are loosely tied in, and then you just have like a binge some weekend. Number 2, we have Emily. Kind of a weird way to spell it. Never seen it spelled that way. Normally it's like E-M-I-L-Y. Emily says the babysitter is here. So I wonder if this has to do with like a psycho like babysitter, or babysitter and then something else happens. No? Guess I'll have to watch it to find out, huh? Number 3. This is the Horrorpack Limited Edition Blu-ray. A movie called Prosper. And you can see it's got kind of a more simplistic wrap cover on it. There you can see the actual Horrorpack emblazoned down at the bottom. The Last Witch of Salem feasts tonight in ancient darkness. Alright, there we go. A lot of times those independent movies, especially in the horror genre, are just as good at, if not sometimes better, than the big movie releases that you go see at the theater. That's my personal opinion. And the last one we have is The Turning. I have heard of this. Keep an Eye on the Children. Starring Mackenzie Davis, Finn Wolfhard, who is from Stranger Things, and Brooklyn Prince. So Blu-ray, DVD, digital code, release. The Turning includes alternate ending. I have heard of that, but I haven't seen it. You know, and that's another thing I can say with as many horror movies as I have. And I had a big collection of horror movies even before I started getting this subscription. I've got a couple thousand DVDs and Blu-rays. And I'd say about a third of them are horror. And I think there's only been, out of the few years I've been subscribing to this now, it's been at least 2 years, might be more like 3 years, maybe 4, I don't know, I lost track. I think there's only been like literally a handful, maybe 5 or 6 times where I got one Blu-ray of a movie I already had. And I think out of all those instances, there's only been one time when it was one I already had on Blu-ray. All the other times it was movies I had, but I had them on DVD. So I kept the Blu-ray and then got rid of the DVD. But there you go. That is it. That is that would be the horror pack for May. I had to think of which month we were in, although we're almost done with May. We got what, one more day, or is today's the last day? Today's the last day of May. Okay, I'm a rapper. Didn't even know. I should put out an album. But yeah. So if you are into horror, and you're old school like me, or just old like me, whatever, and you like actually having like Blu-rays and stuff, if you haven't completely delved into just, I only stream everything all the time, you know, I like streaming too. I'm not knocking it. I have a number of subscription services that I stream, you know, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Netflix. But the downside of that is if your internet goes down, then you're screwed. Now, obviously, if your electricity goes out, you're screwed regardless. That's when you have to pick up a book and entertain yourself. Or just watch it on your phone, which kind of defeats the purpose if you're watching it on a screen that small. You know, you can't watch a horror movie on a screen that small. No, don't work. But as long as you have power, but your internet goes down, well then, you know, you're screwed if all you do is stream. Whereas if you have actual DVDs and Blu-rays, you're good. So, if you're a fan of things like that, by all means, check out Horrorpack. Subscribe. You don't have to sign a contract or anything like that. You can subscribe if after a month or two you're not real impressed with the movies you get. You can cancel at any time. Although I imagine if you are a horror movie fan in any way, shape, or form, once you start getting it, you'll stick with it. And if you're like me, you will run out of room to put DVDs and Blu-rays, which I have. But I'm still going to keep still good. Because eventually I'm going to retire. Now, the way things are going, it might not be for another 20 years. Well, it probably will be for around 20 years. I'm only in my 50s. I'll probably be working for at least 20 more years. So I can get the full amount of my Social Security if there's anything left by that time. But hell, who knows? You know, as long as I can be working in some way, I probably will be. But eventually, hopefully, I'll be able to retire, and then I'll have plenty of free time, and then I can watch all these movies. All right, that's it, everybody. As always, look out for yourself and everyone around you, so we all have a much better chance at staying safe and healthy. And until the next time, take it easy, stay cool, stay hydrated, put on your freaking sunscreen if you're going to be outside. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe, hit that all notification bell, because coming up next, the next video that will be popping up is going to be another mystery box from Ralphie's Funhouse. Will I get a big hit? Will I hit one of the grails? Well, subscribe and then you'll be able to tune in and find out. Till then, see ya.